Oh, hello and welcome to Sterling Armory Sword Talk. This is episode 59, I think. It's been a while since we've done a Sword Talk, but we have a lot coming up. We have had a lot going on, and so we haven't been able to get on here and do as many Sword Talks as we wanted to over the holidays and since our last big show. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, let's dive right into it. Let me bring on tonight's guest, so not guest, but tonight's group. So Colton, I did in the other order. There you go. So Warbear was not able to join us tonight. We're still, it's just 2 days after Christmas here. He's still out traveling, so we wish him well and hope he has good travels. Real quick, my name is Chris, sword maker at Sterling Armory, and yeah, that's me. Colton, want to go?
Yeah, I am Colton, also sword maker. Wow, we haven't done one of these in a minute.
We haven't. I forgot what I usually say.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what do we usually say? I always fumble it anyways.
I was trying to remember. I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah,
Ryan,
I make swords and stuff. Yeah, let's see. Go ahead, Ryan.
My name's Ryan. I make swords. You can find me at the Sterling Armory booth. Also, Fox and Forge on Facebook.
Oh,
hey, there you go. Hey, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So yeah, we're at Sterling Armory. If you want to find us, we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, our website. We have a website now that's actually functional and working, and you can reach us that way. Most of our traffic still, though, is either through the website or through Facebook, so find us there. And then obviously, if you found us here on YouTube, thanks for joining along. So yeah, I already messed up our... is this the right music, by the way? I don't know if you can even hear it.
Oh, I can hear it. Seems
you can?
Pretty
is
loud.
It too loud?
Yeah, it was pretty loud.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So on my end,
a little bit.
Hear it.
Okay.
Turn down a little more.
I don't know. Yeah, somewhere in there. That sounds pretty good.
So I went in to start it, and it rearranged all my music files. So I was like, I forgot which one I used. So I had to go through a bunch to find it. But yeah, so here we go. So we already did that. So okay, on to drinks. So if you're new to the channel, again, we talk about everything sword and sword related. I should have said that earlier. And we also start with drinks. So I'm going to start because it's been a while. Let me take that banner off because it makes this really small. So it's wintertime here, holidays, and if you've not heard me give the spiel, this is the best winter drink ever. So Jack Daniel's Winter Jack, it's only sold in November. So if you can't find it in November, then you're not going to find it because they only make it once a year. And it's a spiced apple punch mixed with their Tennessee honey whiskey. And it's great hot, it's great cold. I should get sponsorship from that. So, and then drinking from my Login Woolen little copper mug here. So yeah, good evening, good drinks. So
yeah,
what do you got?
I've just got a sweet red blend, so keeping it simple.
Yeah, I just had one at dinner. So.
There you go.
Ryan, what you got?
I got a beer. It's Stella. This is Stein my mom gave me from one of her trips in Germany. But yeah,
cool.
Belgian beer, German mug, good times.
Nice, awesome, awesome. So let us know what you guys are drinking at home while you're watching along. One of these days we got to do a live, and then it would be cool to do a live by the bonfire because on our big property here we get the fire going usually every night. So that would be cool. I think that's the best time to have a nice drink and chat, right? So we got to figure that out. I have no idea how yet, but we'll figure that out. So next topic is the news. So lots of news because it's been a while since we've been on. We were actually trying to remember. We don't think we talked about Fright Fight on here, which is a shame if we didn't. But Fright Fight went really well for everybody. We might have talked about the cutting, I think, because I thought I remembered mentioning Caleb. I mean, he got gold in open cutting at Combat Con, and then came up to Fright Fight and got gold in advanced cutting. So he's on fire. So We're excited to have him at the next event as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, Caleb's on fire, so he's one of our Florida guys. That's really representing at the cutting tournaments. We did the Bowie cutting, which was super fun, and he took gold in that too, by the way.
Yeah, he did.
So yeah, he's on fire. I'm trying to remember any other highlights that came out of. Well, Ryan, you were competing as well. You did cutting as well as sparring.
Yeah.
A friend,
Yeah,
you did
it was-
rapier, and was that it?
And saber. So I did rapier, saber, advanced cutting, and Bowie cutting.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. So advanced cutting was really fun this year because they threw some feats at us that we typically don't get. And one was the triple mat, right? So I really wanted. I think I can get that with an arming sword. I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't, but I've never tried that feat with an arming sword. And I made so before I left, I was like, I'm gonna only use my arming sword through this whole event. And I'm pretty sure I did, right? I don't think I changed out at any point. But on that triple mat, I was like, oh no, I made a mistake. But I think if I had practiced that, I could get that. I think. So I definitely need to practice that feat. I'm trying to remember. We had done that one other time, and I can't remember when that was.
Was that what? Did Phil do that before?
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem like a Phil thing.
Or maybe it wasn't Phil. Yeah. I don't remember, but I know I've done that with longsword before, and I did okay with longsword. It's just with the arming sword is where I knew that was going to be difficult. So, I did finally. I went back and watched the video, by the way. I did finally get that last one. So So for everyone watching, we had 3 mats, and you had to do diagonal, turn the stand, diagonal. Or sorry, descending, ascending, and then turn descending, ascending. Right? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah. That sounds right.
And what's interesting is the final ascending was the one that I actually got. so I did do it. Just not the first 3 were terrible. So
I mean, it was challenging because a lot of us had difficulty with it. I had difficulty with it, and I was using a big longsword, right? So I think it was just it was a challenging feat.
Am I remembering wrong? I thought you got that one.
I mean, I got some of them, but I think I was in by that time because that was one of the. I don't think it was finals yet, but it was one of the last 4 feats. So it was past a lot of the elimination stuff.
Yeah,
it was getting close to finals. So it was near the end.
And
a lot. I think I was kind of in the middle of that pack, if I'm remembering right. HEMA scorecard's the ultimate truth, but I don't think I did particularly well, or bad. But I don't think I did particularly well either.
3rd, right? You got bronze.
Overall, yes, but in that particular feat,
I got 4th, right?
Well, yes, and you and we were tag teaming up until finals. We were 1 and 2, and we were close. I don't think we had a huge lead on anybody. I think it was close all over. But man, your Florida dude, like man, he really cleaned us up.
And the triple mat, I mean, he got all of them.
He got all. Yeah, he did very well in that feat. And
he was using the Vision. Is it the Vision Ansbach? The Valiant Vision Ansbach? That's a Vision line, right?
I don't know.
I think
that's a good question.
Ansbach.
What's Valiant? Yeah,
he's really good with that blade. So yeah, props to Caleb. Also,
well, he's been practicing a lot. Getting
bigger. Mine would too. But yeah, that was Fright Fight. Thanks again to all those guys who put that on. It was a lot of fun. And then so after Fright Fight, we had Sarasota Medieval Fair, which is the weekend after, and every weekend since. So that's why we haven't had a sword talk in a while. So we've been just busy doing that. And Sarasota went really well for us. If you're in the Florida area and you want to check out a very fun medieval show, Sarasota, I highly recommend it. They're slowly building the grounds up, and the folks who run the show really care about the show. We run into a couple issues in Florida where certain owners that come in from out of state will run a fair, but they don't really care about the fair. Like they just care about, how much return on investment is this going to make me? And they don't really invest in their grounds or their property. So the fair ends up kind of getting run down. the local actors and everything are always great, but you can tell when you have a show that comes in and the owner actually invests in the property and keeps investing in it every year, it makes a big difference. So that's what Sarasota is for Florida. The guys running it are great, and and we love doing that show. I think that's the only show now. Yeah, that's true. That's the only show where we sell almost all blunts, because everybody there typically wants blunt for stage fighting or for doing their chess match or their jousting. We supply blunt blades for each of those, and it was a great time. And then that was over. That went all through November and into the early December, and then holidays started. So yeah, it's just been quite busy. How about you guys? Am I missing anything? Any other events that I missed on the news wise?
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
We're all brain fried right now.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
For a second, I was like, the weekend before Fright Fight was the Salt Lake Open. We talked about that, right?
We did talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And yes, that's all I could think of.
Yeah, so this year was kind of a first for us, because all through October we had an event every weekend, and then even though I wasn't at all of them, we were still making blades for almost all of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, went Blade Show West, Salt Lake Open, Fright Fight, and then that's all of October, and then right into November, which was every weekend at the Medieval Show. So
Yeah.
it's like wow, like so Shelby and I, like halfway through the Sarasota, we were like, we really didn't expect this busy of a time. So it kind of caught us off guard, but we'll be prepared for next year. Although Salt Lake Open doesn't happen next year, right? Because that's every other year, I think.
I think so, yeah.
So we'll be better prepared. And yeah. So then the biggest news is, so Valley, I don't know if did we announce this on the channel already? I actually don't remember if we did. If we didn't, big news. So it took 12 minutes into the recording to get here. But we were really sad to hear that Valley of the Sun cutting tournament, which is our big January event. It's a dedicated cutting tournament. And for a lot of us in the HEMA world that love cutting, love that event. That was probably one of our favorite events. However, they are not able to do it this year. So the event, I believe, is permanently canceled. So that left January open for us and Sterling, myself, Shelby, and all of us at Sterling Armory. We always talked about doing our own event. And when I saw January open, and the fact that I live in Florida, and the event area that we want to do it is not the best during the summer, so we have to look for like a January, December, maybe February. We don't want to go much later than that. So when January opened up, I was like, we're not ready for it, but we need to do it. So we need to kind of fill into that time slot. So yeah, we are starting our Lake Edge Open cutting tournament. So that's going to be the main topic of today as well. So let me do the quick banner. Lake Edge Open. So real quick. Oh shoot, I'm sorry. See, I'm all messed up. I was really excited about Lake Edge, but I forgot one thing in the news. So let's go back to the news. And let me actually share some stuff. So for Shelby's birthday this year, we went to New York, as well as we had some great visits to the Met. So real quick, so anytime we go to a museum, especially any Arms and Armor museum, we do post all the images and videos we take on our Facebook page. So if you haven't been to our Facebook page, this is it. And can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see it. So the way to get to those photos, because I get a ton of questions on, hey, I see when you post them, so because they go in your feed when you post them, but how do you find them afterwards? So I don't know if everybody else sees the same as I do, but when you go to photos, you go to albums here, and this is where some folks have said they don't see the albums top. So hopefully you see albums under the photos, and then we separate everything out via its own location. So Met Cloisters, we got 137 images from there. And then the Met itself, we got 185 images from there. Now, some of those are not just Arms and Armor because we were taking photos of a lot of things. But yeah, so if you click on any of these albums, you're going to see all the photos that we've taken. I do want to highlight one, though. So this guy, brand new exhibit, at least new to me. And I was at the Met not that long ago. So I think it's a pretty brand new exhibit. A beautiful Type 12 arming sword, massive sword. It's a 4-pound. I think it's 4 pounds 3 ounces or something like that. I did take an image of this card. Let me see if I can, there it is. Can you see that, or is it too small?
It's kind of small.
Yeah, so 4.02 pounds. I believe the blade length is 39 inches, if I remember correctly. That's not listed on the card, but I was able to, finagle some stuff with it. But yeah, so great example, great piece. I'm definitely going to be making that at some point because it looks cool and it's a big blade, and I like those blades. But yeah, I wanted to highlight that. So if you're in the if you're in the New York area, and have not gone and see that blade yet, I highly recommend it. I don't know when they acquired that blade, but I do know that it was not on display before. Oh, that's another part of the Met. There we go. So yeah, that's how to get to our photos. The other highlight we had, let me go back to the albums, was the Met Cloisters. I had actually never been to the Cloisters before. I had no idea how awesome it was. So if I had known, have you guys been there at all or know what it is?
No.
Haven't been there.
So the Met Cloisters is just north of Manhattan, just off the island. There was this huge hill. It's a giant park. And they basically, someone in the 19 or maybe 1890s went around and bought up medieval cloisters and then reassembled them into one giant cloister, which is called the Met Cloister. So it looks like a castle on top of that hill, but it's actually just several medieval cloisters that were shipped over from Europe. Now, I mean, I don't know if they were tearing them down, so they said, wait, don't tear them down, we'll move them, or if they just went ahead and bought them and yanked them out of a different country. I have no idea how that actually worked. But it was pretty awesome. So the Met Cloisters is the home of the Met's, all their medieval artwork. So whether it's tapestries or effigies, they have full-on effigies there. A lot of sculpture work, all the medieval art. There is some medieval art in the main Met, especially in terms of paintings. There's the medieval paintings, but all of the other non-painting but also art is all in the cloisters. And we got a chance to work with one of the I'm forgetting her name. Shoot. But a friend of a friend was the curator on the art side. She does a lot of work and rehabilitating the art and making sure it's preserved correctly. She gave us a full behind-the-scenes tour of the Met and her areas that she's working, which was awesome. I was hoping to meet the new Arms and Armor curator, but she didn't know who it was. So, and I looked it up, and so I knew who it was, but we didn't. I don't know if he was even there that day, but I still need to tie up with him because I'd love to talk with him for things we can do to help the museum. Yeah, the Cloisters was fantastic. Highly recommend. Had I known how great it was, I would have been there many times. So a couple of things I wanted to show, though, from Cloisters is in the artwork. Let's see if I can find a couple of examples. I mean, most of these will have examples of what I'm talking about. So the medieval artwork, I mean, we get to see things that we typically don't get to see. So like how swords are hung, their belts, their grip shapes, the grip textures. There's just tons of examples. There was I don't know if I can find it, but there was a great one where this guy had a really cool pouch design that I'd never seen before, and the pouch also slung his dagger, which was a rondelle dagger. It was a really cool setup. But there's all sorts of hidden gems in all this medieval artwork that we spent hours just studying it. And it's also home of the famous unicorn tapestry, if you guys are familiar with that. Let's see if I can find it. I may not have it
up above.
Did you see it up there and I just missed it?
I don't know. Maybe not.
I might not have it. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's like it was right there.
Yeah. So, which is funny because it's my mouse pad now.
Oh,
But this, so funny enough, so when we were in Edinburgh, we went to Edinburgh Castle, and when you go walk all the way through, this tapestry is supposed to be in Edinburgh, and there is a facsimile of it there, and this was one of my wife's favorite, Shelby's favorite tapestries. So she looked at it and she was like, I can't believe that's the original one. And then the person at Edinburgh was like, that's not the original one. And she was like, what do you mean? She's like, no, the original one's at the Met in New York. And we're like, what? So now we came back to the States and then saw the original one, which is that one.
It could have saved you a lot of time and energy running to Scotland. Could have just gone to New York.
So, what's funny is the facsimile, I mean, you couldn't tell me that they're different. I mean, whoever did that did a really good job. So yeah, that's a famous Scottish one. Yeah, the effigies too. I'm taking a little too much time on this, but just wanted to point out. So here's one. This is the hilt of the sword is under his hands, but you can see the scabbard and the scabbard wrap, which is pretty neat. Here's a little dagger. It's hanging off a belt. You know, all these little things we're trying to take pictures of. That's the full scabbard. It's broken off, sadly, but there's so much detail in these, and it's just great to see. So if you have time and you want to go through all these images, please do. So yeah, that's how you find our photos. And then again, the Met. We have the Met. We have Met Cloisters, but if you look at our albums, if you can see all the individual albums, you'll see we've been to the Met multiple times, as well as Royal Armories, Solingen, the Covent Garden Museum, all the castles we've been to. There's other Met ones, the Wallace Collection, Tower of London, over and over and over again. So there's tons of research here if you want to dive into it. So, and if you're curious, yes, for my personal blades, they're usually based on something that I've seen in one of those things. So that was it with the news. So going back over to Lake Edge Open. Hey, it doesn't actually bump us up when I'm sharing something. That's good. So going back to Lake Edge Open, a couple ways you can find us. So if you go to our more, again from our Facebook page, and go to events, Lake Edge Open pops right up. So if you want to check out our event page, this is the event page on Facebook. So Lake Edge Open, if you just search for it, Lake Edge Open, it'll also come up. We're getting up there in numbers, which is great. We were a little concerned we weren't going to get enough folks, especially on the open cutting side, but we're getting there, and it seems like it's going to be a very fun event. We also have its own website as well. So So on our website, you can go to Lake Edge Open and get an idea of, hey, look at it, who it is. We talk a little bit about what we're doing and what our goals are with the tournament. So we're doing things a little differently. So our goal, Lake Edge Open is set up as a nonprofit, and the goal of the tournament is and of the nonprofit organization is to spread overall awareness of historical European martial arts, especially in terms of cutting. Because on the East Coast here, cutting is somewhat big on the West Coast, but on the East Coast here, where I'm from, nobody does it. So we're trying to spread that knowledge and get folks more involved and more interested in that side of cutting. And the other thing too is, and I think Ryan, you probably agree with me here. So usually what happens, and I've seen this in the Japanese arts, in the Chinese arts, because I study both of those as well, and now in HEMA, is usually what happens is you get folks really good at cutting and you get folks really good at sparring, and they're usually not the same people. So it's very rare to find folks who do both, right? Yeah. And HEMA, it's not quite there yet. There's most people who do cutting are also sparring. But we want to get to the point where what we want to promote is making sure that your cutting form and style and your sparring and fighting form and style, it should be the same thing. If you're doing one different than the other, then there's a problem there, right? So that's what's going to, I don't know if it'll make our tournament that much different, but that is, if you notice any differences in our cutting feats and the way we're doing our tournament, it's because of that reason. We want to get folks cutting more like they're fighting, And that includes adjusting the feats a little bit to make them more, I don't want to say fast-paced, because that's the wrong term for it.
But it's
but
more
just
interactive with the mat, I think.
Yeah, more like you're sparring with the mat, right? Instead of just walking up and cutting, right? So that's kind of what our intent is. The other difference is we have 3 events. So we have Arming Sword, Open and Advanced, Long Sword, Open and Advanced, and then Master Falchion. Master Falchion, because I don't believe there's been a Master Falchion tournament before. There is no Advanced, so it's just Open. So the other thing too is in order, if we do have a number of spectators, which is great. But during the downtimes, because cutting can take a while, especially when you're changing things out, or you're breaking in between events, or you're having lunch, or whatever, we have a ton of other activities on site, including axe throwing, archery. We're gonna have sword Jenga. If you've never played sword Jenga, it's a lot of fun. Colton's really good at it.
I don't know about that, but it is really fun.
We got video somewhere. I got to find that video because we got to post that.
Yeah, no, it was a good time.
And then I'm missing events. What am I missing? Axe throwing, archery, sword Jenga. We'll probably have cornhole out there as well. Oh, and then you get to pet all the Highland cows and donkeys and turkeys and chickens if you want. So we have a whole farm going here. So it's a little farm, but it's still a whole farm. So if you're interested in hanging out with the farm animals, that will also be a thing. So so we're excited for Lake Edge Open. If this is the first time you're hearing about it, you can also find it on HEMA Scorecard. I probably need to refresh this because it's been a bit. So for Arming Sword, we got 7 cutters. That's open, I think. Yeah. Then Arming Sword Advanced, you can see all the different events here. All the tournament rules are also on here. I think they're easier to read on the website, though. So let's walk through that real quick. So on the website, when you go to tournament rules, on your cell phone, this is a little trickier because it doesn't automatically show up that you can pick different ones under tournament rules. But you can. So all the feats are under each individual tab. So tournament rules, if you just click on that, you'll go to the basic rule set. One big difference, so I really try to be really clear about our judging criteria. And so I spell out everything. One difference we have is that for every successful cut, your total points is 10, where it's usually 20, I think, in most tournaments that I'm familiar with. So we're doing 10. Deduction-wise, we talk about all the deductions you can get. Form and quality, we also talk about that. Notice we have a cut quality, and then we have a thrust quality, because we're treating thrusts a little differently than I think most folks are used to. So that's going to be fun. And there's also a lot more thrusting in this cutting tournament than I think most other ones that I'm familiar with, at least. Talk about the basic cuts. And then all the judging criteria is right there if you want to go through and read all that. I guess, Ryan, did anything jump out at you in the general rules or anything going through that?
No, I'm excited about the feats. I think the rules, each tournament's got a different set of flavors, like if Phil's running it or RJ, but I think it stands kind of pretty close to that generality. So if somebody comes from one of those or is new to cutting, like the way that things are judged in those criteria will be familiar once they go to another tournament or if they're coming in. So read for the specifics because there's nuances, but really it's not a big change.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. So the other thing I forgot to mention is so the winners, the gold medalists in each event, including Open, by the way, they all compete for the Grand Championship at the end. So it's going to be a huge uphill battle for the Open gold medalists. But so every gold medalist in every event competes at the end to see who's the Grand Championship for the whole event. And those feats will be announced that day. So what do you guys want to do first? Longsword, Arming Sword? Falchion, Master, which one?
Arming, it's first. Let's go.
So for Arming Sword, so a lot of these feats will seem a little familiar, but we have a little twist to each one of them, and I think some of them are completely different. So, for the most part, the first feat for every weapon set will be basically, you got to show your proficiency and control. Meaning, you're just doing the basic cuts. We want to see that, and that's it. So that's pretty common. The advanced versions of this throw a twist, which they'll see that when they get there. I think it makes it a little bit more fun. Now the big difference is you got thrusts included now. So you have 6 basic cuts plus 1 short thrust and 1 long thrust on a mat. And you might be asking, what is a short thrust and a long thrust? So a long thrust is any thrust where you have to step into measure, do the thrust, right? And you can't just reach out and touch it. And you have to step back out. Short thrust is when you're already in measure and you're just hitting it. So we wanted to make sure we wanted to show both, right? We don't, because when we do our, at least the ones I'm familiar with, when they ask you to thrust, they don't specify which one. So most people do the short thrust because those are a lot easier. So not everybody though. Some folks do long thrust, but for the most part, you're pretty close and you just step. So there's no footwork needed, and so we wanted to show both. Now the big difference is thrusts are, we wanted to make it more fun for the competitors. However, at the same time, it makes it harder on the judges. So when you do your thrusts, you thrust and retract without stopping. We don't want you to stop midway, which means you don't necessarily have to go through all the way through the mat. Now, to get full points, we have to clearly see that you're through the mat, but we don't want to stop you mid-thrust to check, right? So it has to be clearly visible to get full points. However, if you do the thrust and you hit center and we don't see that you go through, it's only a -1. So it's not a big deduction at all. So we do have, now it makes it hard on the judges because we need a spotter behind you to make sure, they're given, they'll have flags giving, a flag down means you missed, which we should be able to see. A flag sideways means you hit towards the edge of the mat, and a flag up means you hit the center. So that'll be judging criteria for the judges to worry about, but it makes the overall thrusting feats, I think, a lot more fun. Second feat, this one's very different, I think, than anyone's used to. Ryan, have you done one like this before?
Only on paper. And I think the other thing that's interesting about this one is utilizing other materials aside from just tatami and paper, which has become more prevalent since. So
can I blow this up? Let's see if I can make it bigger. Yeah, there we go. That's probably helpful. Should have done that earlier. So feat 2, I notice how we're being very clear what each feat is for. So feat 1, you're showing proficiency and control. Feat 2 is solely for for accuracy. So for what we're doing here, for open cutting, you're going to have probably 1.5 to 1.75 bamboo, and there's going to be lines painted on that bamboo that you have to cut through. So basically, you want to cut the line, and you got to do that with the 4 basic cuts. But each one you'll have 2 attempts. So now the tricky part is you got to hit the line. If you don't hit the line, your cut already starts at half points. So any other deductions will start from half points and go down. So yeah, accuracy. This might be a make or break one for the tournament for getting to the finals because you can lose a lot of points if you're not accurate. So, but it should be fun. Cutting bamboo is fun if you've never done it before. And the nice thing about bamboo is it does allow us to paint lines on it, whereas you can't really paint tatami. And you can, but it kind of just runs right off. Then the next feat there is reactionary cutting. So the third feat, this is the semifinals. Oh, I didn't mention this. So top 8 from the first 2 will go on to semifinals. And right now we have, I think, 8 people. So everyone will be doing the semifinal.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
So reactionary cutting, also a little different because we're in an outside venue. We can probably run screens, but we don't want to have to worry about all the electronics and everything. So we're going to be doing reactionary cutting or semaphores a little differently. So let me minimize this while I'm talking about it. So for semaphores, you're basically going to be sparring the mat as well as reacting to a person on the other side of that mat that's outside of the ring. And they're going to be the ones throwing the flags at different angles that you start your cut from. So just like if you're familiar with semaphores, you usually have a screen and one of the corners lights up and that's where your cut starts from. Well, now, instead of reacting to a screen, you're reacting to a person and they're going to throw that flag up. So we might actually have them have like a wooden sword that we paint like red, so it looks like they're starting a cut, and you have to go in for it. The other difference here is we also have thrusts. So when they go straight vertical, that signifies the thrust for you. So we have, not only do we have cuts, but we have thrusts. The other great thing about this setup is that if you knock the stand over, in normal semaphores, that kills the event, right? If you knock stand over, you're done. Yeah, you might as well go home. So we are allowing a respike on semaphores as well. So if you do knock the stand over, no worries, we can reset, keep going, because we're not timed to a screen. So I think that's very helpful. Am I missing anything there? Oh, I don't think we're going to do this in open, but it does say it here in the rules, so I'm going to say it. So if the signaler signals 2 cuts, then you can do it either one, right, at any given time. I don't think we're
do both of them, but in your order.
Yeah. So yeah, any order. Open will probably just be one at a time, but we'll see. Maybe we'll end it with something fun. Then the next feat, again, is cut the thrust, similar to what we typically do. I'm sorry, thrust to cut. Cut the thrust. So this one, we clarify what that initial thrust has to be. So it has to be a long thrust, which means you need to be out of measure. And then you need to step into that thrust. So I think that makes that feat a lot more difficult for me personally. And then you have to follow that up with one of the 6 basic cuts. So notice it's not the same cut every time. You do have to show each of the 6 basic cuts to get full points. So that also means horizontal cuts. So you have to be careful on what cut you want to do when. Then going to, that's the first of the finals, by the way. Then the second of the finals is double target. So this is where it gets a lot of fun. And there'll be a double target feat for each of the weapon sets as well. So for this particular one, you have a single tatami mat. Oh, I forgot. I'll stop sharing. Here we go. So we're on this one here. That's the thrust to cut we saw above. So for the single tatami mat, you have it basically, if you're facing the targets, instead of having just one target right in front of you, you're going to have one tatami mat there, either left or right, and then the other side is going to be one bamboo. And they're not a single step away from each other. You have to move in between those. So the first, on this one, you have a full pattern of cuts you have to do. So you want to have this pattern memorized, or else this is going to be a very difficult feat. So that's actually what I'm worried about the most is everybody going to be able to memorize all this? So that's why these are released ahead of time. The advanced guys, instead of telling them right before the feat, when they do a very large, like a double target feat like this, they're going to know the day before. So I'm going to send all the feats out so they can, if they have to memorize anything, they'll memorize the day before. So on this one, it's a lot of fun. So basically, you got to do the full pattern of cuts without stopping. So at first, as you start with a long thrust into the tatami, and then immediately do a descending cut, and then a short cut right away, or short thrust, sorry, right away. So long thrust, cut, short thrust, really quickly. Then you turn to the bamboo. You have to step towards the bamboo, and then do a descending, ascending, descending, like a lightning cut. Then you turn back to the tatami to attempt a double cut. Now you've already cut the mat, right? So you don't have as much left to do the double cut, but there still should be, because you do 2 thrusts and 1 cut, there still should be plenty of tatami left over there for you to do the double cut. So yeah, that's it for open arming sword. And yeah, so thoughts there. Again, the intent of both of those final feats is you're sparring that mat, right? So we're hoping that competitors are moving with the mat or moving around a little bit, and we don't want you just walking up and cutting, because that takes a lot of points off from the form side. So yeah, any ideas or comments there?
I'm really excited about it, and I think we've always talked about this a lot, and even in the advanced cutting group that we always talk about this, but moving and that dynamic movement is really important. And you could tell when a cutter comes from a sparring culture versus somebody who comes in without sparring, who just wants to cut and then maybe gets into sparring later or what have you. But there's some movements in there. And what I think is great about this is that, particularly for the open guys, when they're doing this before they get to advanced tournaments, most of the advanced tournaments have more movement to it, but it'll really help get that mindset, kind of get people used to that sort of stuff. So I'm really excited to see how people move and address, because there is some strategy and decisions that people could make when they're moving around for their cuts. So like that, to me, it'll be really exciting to see how people do that and the different mechanics that people are going to come up with that work or maybe don't work for them as a learning experience for all of us. So I think it's great. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, the other thing too is we wanted, especially because we know people are coming in from all over. This is a first year event, and we know it's not cheap, right? So people are paying a lot of money. And so we wanted to make sure people, no matter if you only made it for the first couple of rounds or not, but we want you cutting a lot and having the ability to do a lot of different cuts. So even if you don't make it to the semifinals or finals, you're still cutting a lot. So that was one of the things we really wanted to do. The longsword one is somewhat similar. There is actually, there's one different feat in longsword that I want to talk about, and that is instead of the thrust to cut, we do a power and control feat, and this is probably new for a lot of folks. So let me cover this real quick. So for power and control, we're going to be, and this is taken heavily from the Japanese sword arts because they do this quite a lot, and we also did this in the Chinese arts as well. Although we actually did this with pole arms more than we did it with swords in the Chinese arts. So for power and control, basically you have tatamis stacked horizontally. And they're probably going to be 6 to 7 rolls high. You'll notice there's not a possible points count there yet because we don't know what that total mat count is yet. But your intent is you're going to step up, you're going to be out of measure, step in, and throw a vertical cut down on the tatami to get through as many vertical as you can. Now, cutting tatami, which is now vertical, normally horizontal, that's against the grain of the tatami, which is the most difficult way to cut tatami, just because of the way the grain of the tatami works. So if your cut starts angling left or right, it's because, one, you're either losing control of your blade a little bit, so the amount of points you get stops there, or it's because the tatami is just easier to cut that way. So if you were to just naturally drop a blade, it will curve, right? Because it's just easier to cut tatami that way. So because of that, so notice the feat is power and control. So you got to control your sword vertically through as many mats as you can. And it's a very fun feat. It's also a giant mess because you got tons of tatami stacked up, and so each person comes up. This is one of the final rounds, so there's only 3 people doing this feat. Well, that's the other thing too. Our finals is only 3 people. We won't have 4 people in it, at least not at the moment. But we'll see how that goes. So one person comes up, does their cut attempt, and then they come back. Then the next person comes up, and then each person will do that. Do I have 2 times or 3 times?
3
2?
attempts.
So 3 times.
Best 2 of 3 attempts will be scored.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to be scoring 2 of your attempts, not all 3, but your 2 best ones, and that'll be your total points count. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's a lot of fun. The big difference is, so in the Japanese sword arts, what they do is they square up to the mat and then chop it from a horse stance. Well, we're not doing that, obviously. That's not really a thing in HEMA. so we'll be going into a normal stance. You're stepping forward and doing your cut that way. And then jumping over. So that's the only really different one in longsword. Everything else is somewhat similar to what we talked about in the arming sword, but just more geared towards longswords.
And I haven't seen, I don't know, maybe I think for some reason, I think they might have done this before at a combat con years ago. But since I've been competing, I've not seen any HEMA cutting tournaments that have done that feat. So I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, I don't think I have
that
either.
turns out. Yeah.
I asked Phil, I was like, hey, have you guys done this before? And he said there was one tournament, I guess, way back in the day that did it, but not ever since.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I think for longsword, I mean, power and control is a great feat in longsword. Now, is that all your points? No, because obviously you don't want to just have one feat that takes everything. So that's another thing we wanted to do here is we wanted to make sure each feat, whether it's accuracy or power or reaction or speed, all of that is equally weighted. So you have to be good at all of them so to do well in the tournament. Whereas if you're really good at power, but your accuracy is terrible, then you're not going to do well, right? So we're trying to make it as all around as possible. Oh, one thing I did fail to mention, I forgot. So another difference here, and I know some people like this, some people hate it, but I like it, and this is how I came up. So, and it's my tournament. So, so once you pick your blade that you're cutting with, and we will have loaner blades available, but once you pick your blade that you're cutting with, you have to use that same blade, for every feat. And the reason why we're doing this is we want to make sure that it's about, this, you should be cutting like you're fighting, right? So we don't want you to pick an optimized blade to be optimized for a specific feat, right? We want you to be good with your blade, just like you were fighting, no matter what that feat might be, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So yeah, so that became a big thing in the Japanese arts because people started coming out with those really wide cutting blades, and then a lot of senseis were finally like, "No, you can't do that." And they would actually have specific blades for each feat. And I was like, "That's the more you dive into that, the more you're sportifying the competition, right? Instead of making it martial." At least that's my opinion. I know some people disagree with that, but. So yeah, so a Messer Falchion, it's a much bigger deal, right? Because notice we didn't say single-handed or two-handed. You could use whatever Messer Falchion you want. However, I highly recommend reading through the feats before you pick your blade, because that might determine what blade you want to use. Because some of these feats are easy with single hand, some of them are easy with two hand. There's a couple different feats that you might need certain types of falchions for, but we try not to make that a big thing. So that's a small amount of points, and you'll see that at the end here. But our feats for Messer Falchion are also quite different. The first one's similar, so no change there. Accuracy feat is also very similar. The passing cuts, though, is where we get a little different. I had a lot of questions on this, too. From all sorts, especially the advanced cutters. They were all like, whoa, what is this? so basically, this is essentially doing it basically multiple cuts as an action, but you have to be, I say circling that because that's the terminology I'm used to. Well, what you're really doing is you're stepping offline and sidestepping the mat and continuing your cuts. And so some folks prefer that terminology instead of circling. I get it. Just different terminology for the same thing. But you have prescribed actions. You don't necessarily have to do them in the order that are here, but you have to be careful what order you do them in because of what you're doing in each feat. So the first one, you do a left. So as you step in, so you're out of measure, you step in, do your left descending cut. Then you sidestep, and your sidestep can be a single step or a double step. It's up to you. And then you do your right descending cut. So the only way you'll lose points in this, well, other than normal points deductions, but if your second step, if you're not breaking the plane of your first step, meaning if you're not actually circling the target, that's why you get points, a big points deduction. So as long as you're moving past and around the target, that's what we want to see from you. And the reason why is for Messer Falchion, especially Messer, that's a lot of their form work, right? Is going in, getting really close, going through past your partner and cutting. Which also happens to be very similar to a lot of Chinese Dao work, by the way. So yeah, we're hoping it's a fun event. If you haven't done these before, I would say if you get a chance, practice these before the event, especially the thrusting ones, because they're harder than you think. So, because you think if you do a nice giant cut and you step in for a thrust, it should be easy, right? But it's not. Practice it a bunch. The other thing with this is, and it's not mentioned directly in the rules, but if you are, it's like, say you're doing the final number 5 there, so left descending cut, then circle or side step, and then short thrust in, you can actually use your hand on the back of your messer to thrust in, right? You don't have to, you don't have to have your hand behind your back or anything. And again, that's right out of some of the messer manuals. So if you need to do that, that's fine. If you cut yourself doing that, that is on you. So then, in a similar fashion, again, both of these are meant to be cutting while being more sparring-like, I guess. That's a bad way to say it. But the intent of these rounds is you're sparring that mat. You're trying to step in, get your cuts in, and get out. Almost like shadow boxing, but with cuts. So the round 1 in your final is advancing and retreating. So something very similar. So you advance in, you do your first 2 moves. So the first one there, you step into measure with the long thrust. Then you do a left descending cut, but then you do your right descending cut as you're stepping out of measure. So the only way you'll lose points there, other than normal deductions, is if you start that cut and you do the cut before you start retreating out of the area. So this one is very difficult in terms of spacing and timing. So 2-handed blades makes this particular feat, some of them, a little easier. Then again, the ones with the thrust, I think, are easier with single-hand blade. So those are a lot of fun. If you haven't cut while retreating, again, it's difficult. So practice it, practice. And then the double target one, there's I think, is this the one where yeah, so there's one section here that might make you pick a different messer than you might be thinking of. So we do have a false edge cut with the messer here. Now, not all falchions and messers have false edges. So this leads the double target feat. So if you happen to have a messer that does not have a false edge, you're only missing the one cut here, so out of the whole list. So this is the only false edge feat we have in the entire tournament. So we're not saying you have to have a messer with false edge. You don't. I mean, this would be the only points that you miss if you don't have a false edge. Not to mention, it's going to be hard for guys with false edges to make this cut anyway. So what this cut is this is a small bamboo, probably 1.5 inch, that we're sticking into the top of the tatami. And you have to cut that so it's not clamped in tight. So cutting a free-floating piece of bamboo is already quite tough. So most people are just going to be knocking it out of the tatami and sending it flying. But if you get your cut just right, then it goes nicely. So yeah, so other than that first false edge descending cut, or ascending cut, I should say, it's very similar to the other one as well. So yeah. Any comments there on those?
I don't know. Again, I just think it's super exciting, and for this one, with the doubles and moving around as well, especially with a messer that we don't normally see, I'm pretty excited. I'm excited to see, especially the guys who do a lot of messer. It's one of the things that RJ from SoCal Swords is known for.
Yeah,
I want to see how he moves doing this sort of stuff, because
I would expect for those who fight messer quite often, I think this is going to be, I don't want to say easy for them, but it'll be very familiar for them.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the open, so messer and falchion they're all open. There's no advanced yet. So we will be using normal tatami and smaller bamboo. For the advanced guys, though, in the advanced rounds for longsword and arming sword, we're using the Japanese used tatami. So a bit tougher stuff to cut. So not only are their deductions and everything a lot more difficult, but the material they're cutting is much more difficult as well. So we're using 2 to 2 1/4 bamboo, which is tough to cut, as well as the used tatami. So they got a lot to work through there. So I think that's new. So I know the bamboo is new for most guys, but I think the used tatami will also be new for a lot of folks in the advanced cutting, because I know we've done it. I do it all the time just because I happen to live close to Nihonzashi. But I think a lot of folks in the advanced cutting, I mean, Phil's done it, obviously, RJ's done it. But a lot of the newer advanced cutters, I don't think have done it yet. So it might
If
be
you started cutting after 2020, then
Yeah,
chances are you probably don't have a lot of experience with it, just because a lot of our importers kind of dried up during COVID.
Yep.
And you can still get
Yeah.
it, especially if you're, JSA school. But it's a lot more expensive than it used to be.
Yeah, I think the last tournament we had was Valley of the Sun, right? Where we had to do semi-fours and 6 basic cuts on a used tatami mat. in
Yeah,
the
Phil
advanced.
Phil's managed to get some too. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
you mean
like
the last
2
time you
that
saw it at a tournament? Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you were at that one, right? Were you at that one?
No, I think that was before my time. No, I have cut with used tatami at my HEMA school beforehand, when we could get it. And I remember you'd have to like pick staples out of it and double check for rocks and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I mean that was a different time. I think it was $4 a roll at the time, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. And now
A lot higher.
the cheapest thing we can get is almost $10 a roll. So it's a different world.
Yeah,
for sure.
even higher than that now.
Or
The interesting thing too is, so I was actually just over at Nihonzashi earlier, or actually, before Christmas, so the week before Christmas. And the newer stuff, the more recent shipments from Japan, they all agree like this is harder to cut than it typically is. So it's even harder than normal. And I was like, oh great. So hopefully it's not impossible. So I am hoping. So I'll be judging the form side. There'll be 2 judges, or 3 actually. I'll be judging the form side. The instructor, the current head instructor at Nihonzashi, I believe I would call her sensei, but I don't think she calls herself that yet. Because technically, Sensei Famal, even though he's not, I don't think he's teaching anymore. I think he's retiring, but I don't know if she's considered a sensei yet. I'll have to ask her that. But she'll be the cut quality judge, and I hope, fingers crossed, I hope they can do a demo. It's been hopefully they can get there. We're working on it. But to watch them do cutting and how what I enjoy about the JSA side is it's not just about what happens at the mat, right? It's about the whole process. So, but from the time you pick up your blade, you're into your art, right? And so all your forms have to be correct, all your steps have to be correct. Just the overall intent through the whole process is very different, compared to HEMA. And it's not that one's great or one's bad. That's not it, but it's just very different. So I come from the Chinese and Japanese arts, so I enjoy that a lot. And I think a lot of folks who cut would also probably enjoy that. So I'm hoping we get a nice demo. But if not, there's still so much we got to get done over the weekend. So, also I didn't mention, so Phil Martin will be doing a cutting class for anyone new who's wanting to do a class, and that happens before open cutting starts. So you can go in, you can try some cuts, and before you start competing. So that's going to be awesome. Thanks to Phil for that. And then I'll be teaching a sharpening class probably on Sunday. We don't have a time slot for that yet, but it might actually be Saturday evening while we're all eating around the fire. So we're going to do a nice catered dinner Saturday evening, and then have a bonfire out. And that might be when I do the sharpening. We'll see. But yeah, so if you're interested in a sharpening class, that'll also be happening. Am I forgetting anything?
Is there any considerations? I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of people haven't cut bamboo. I've never cut bamboo. Any different considerations for cutting bamboo? You said, I think you mentioned avoid the knots, so make sure you get centered in between the knots of the bamboo.
Especially in advanced cutting. In advanced cutting, if you hit a knot, you're not getting through it. You're just not. I don't care what sword you have. So yeah, bamboo. If you think of a bamboo, there's these little like knee joints, right, or the knots in the bamboo. Yeah, you want to avoid, and we'll talk about this when we're actually at the event. But don't cut the knots because they're much more dense material, and they're much more difficult to cut. And we're not judging on trying to get through that, right? We're judging on cutting, the part that we want you to cut. So that was part of the reason for doing the accuracy one where we're painting the lines, because those lines are going to be pretty far away from those joints. So we want to make sure you're not cutting those. For the beginner, for the open cutting bamboo, it's about inch and a half, inch and 3/4. You can probably get through a knot there if you hit it just right. But bamboo is very different than tatami, so it requires you to have a bit more powerful cut, but also more controlled, because you have a much smaller area that you're cutting through, right? So you can easily, a lot of people overswing when they cut bamboo because they get through it and then that power's still there, right? And they basically overpower the cut all the time. And that's very common with bamboo. So that's why we like it as a medium. It's a more, it's a more crisp target, if I can say that. With tatami, like if you have a really beautiful, like say you have a Principe or a really high-end katana or any blade that's a really good cutter, and you just drop it into tatami at the right angle, you should be able to cut the tatami, right? It'll cut it. The sword might do the work for you. With bamboo, not at all. It'll bounce right off. So you got to have power in order to hit that bamboo to cut it. So that's the big difference between bamboo and tatami. So tatami is considered a soft target. Even the used tatami is actually considered a soft target, whereas bamboo is the first of the hard targets. So that's why we like. It's a very different medium. For the advanced guys, what was that?
Oh, variety is good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. For the advanced guys, it's going to be a bit more noticeable of a difference because it's larger bamboo. We're using the 2 to 2 1/4 diameter. So for the open guys, we wanted to ease them into it. We didn't want you to, to get into cutting bamboo and have it turn you away because it's too difficult. So that's why we're starting with smaller bamboo for the open guys. We want it to be fun, right? We don't want it to be so difficult that it's not fun, right? So, but for the advanced guys, obviously we want it difficult. 2 to 2 1/4. It shouldn't be too hard. If your cut alignment is correct, then you're fine. Oh, that's the other thing. If your cut alignment is off in bamboo, even with the smaller stuff, it tells you right away. So instead of, in tatami, your blade might either scoop the cut or might scoop down the mat, or, there's many ways where the target can redirect your blade. But bamboo will absolutely, if your cut angle's off, it just stops your blade and it catches it for you. You're like, well, that sucked. So, especially in the 2-inch kind. So your cut has to be on. If your cut's off as well, and you can see this in the judging criteria. One of the telltale signs if your angle is off or you had a rough cut is the bamboo will fray, and it can fray pretty bad. Sometimes it can just splinter, even though your the angle might be right. If you're or if the cut angle was right but your blade was slightly off, it'll just splinter. Whereas if your cut angle's on, it'll be a nice smooth cut. So it's a good telltale sign. Now the downside of that is let's say you have that section in bamboo, there's 2 lines painted on it. If your first cut's off and everything splinters, your second cut is so much more difficult because splintered bamboo is much harder to cut. Yeah. So all these little things we're going to talk about at the tournament itself, but so I'm excited for folks to try it. We don't have any thrusting feats on bamboo, and we don't. I'm just gonna take that. I was about to say something. No, it's gonna be wrong. We don't have any thrusting feats on bamboo, which I wanted to, but it's a bit smaller, and if you do get stuck, that could be bad for your tip. So I didn't want to put any feats in there that could damage your blade.
Yeah.
We don't have any double cuts on bamboo either.
Yeah.
I will get that in eventually. Well, hoping this goes well and we can do it more than once, and we do it every year. That will eventually be a feat, but double cuts on bamboo are very difficult. So I didn't put any in this year. We are doing them elsewhere. So, but yeah, so that would be something different. Horizontal cuts on bamboo, you might see them. Also very difficult. So I think that does it. We're excited for Lake Edge Open. We hope everyone else is excited.
It's exciting.
We know a lot of folks are coming in from all over, and we hope it is a lot of fun for everybody. And yeah, I mean, fingers crossed it's good. So
Now, how long are you going to keep registration open?
all the way till, well, for cutting?
Yeah.
Depends on the numbers. So if our numbers spike up, we'll have to cut it off early.
Fair enough.
I don't see that happening. So advanced cutting.
So when this comes out, if you haven't registered for Lake Edge Open yet,
Yeah, you
go
have
to the website and register and come
Yep.
join us.
Yeah, I will say, so we probably have room for one more, maybe two more in advanced longsword if I open advanced longsword up more. Because we might be able to get, I did order extra targets just in case. And because they're using the used tatami, I can get that locally. So if I have to go run and grab stuff, the day before, I can do that. I prefer not to though, so because I'm going to be doing a lot of rolling for quite a while, right? The week before. For open though, open registration, we could still use another. We could use a bunch of people there. We're at I think 6 to 7 per event, and we could probably double that and still be okay.
Great.
So yeah, the new tatami that we get for them and the smaller bamboo is just, it's easier for me to get. So yeah, excited for that. So yeah, that's it. I think for our main topic today, we're actually sitting over an hour already. I didn't realize. I guess I've been rambling a lot. But yeah, let's dive into some other stuff. Please comment below if you're interested in coming out, and obviously if you want to just come and spectate the event, please come out. There's going to be a lot of stuff for even spectators to do, which I don't think is normal.
No.
So, and again, if the event does well, we got two options we want to go to next. One is either not just a HEMA cutting tournament, but a HEMA cutting tournament and a Japanese sword cutting tournament and a Chinese sword cutting tournament, all next to each other, so everyone can see how everyone else does it. Or the other route we go down is to make it a bigger HEMA tournament and bring fighting in as well. So, two ways to go.
Cool.
Yeah. Hopefully we got to get through the first year first.
Yeah.
Right? So hopefully the first year goes well. Okay. So on to our next. We tried it. This is one of our new little topics we have been throwing into our prior sword talks, and everyone seemed to like it. So we're going to keep with that. So jumping into truth or myth. Dun, dun, dun. So I was telling the guys before we started. So today's truth or myth is brought to us by Sarasota Medieval Fair. So we had a couple sales where the folks came in and they really liked a blade. And they said, oh, but it's not the right size for me. And I was like, what do you mean it's not the right size for you? So the myth is, and you'll hear this from many, many different many areas, backgrounds, schools of thought, and there is schools of thought that teach one way or the other. But the myth is there is one certain length for your blade that your blade should be compared to your body size, whether it's the length of your arm or it's up to your hip, etc., etc. So, in general, the general statements is what is the myth. So, we wanted to talk about that. Now, the truth part of that is there are schools and there are backgrounds in different sword arts that do say you should use this length of sword for your size. Now, does that mean that every sword should be that way? No, just whatever it is you're using in that school, right? So, the one big example that came to mind right away, and this is the one I was talking to the person about. I wasn't selling a katana, but the Japanese sword art came to mind. So, in certain Japanese sword arts, they always resheath their sword and draw and sheath and draw and sheath. So, in some arts, if the sword length should be as far as you can draw out without moving your scabbard, right? Whereas other arts are like, no, you need to move your scabbard back and then draw your sword out. So that's a different philosophy on what your blade length should be, right? So one's not right or one's not wrong, just different philosophies. So yeah, if you're with a certain school and they're telling you here's what your blade length should be, then by all means do that. But as a general statement, anyone can use any sword of any length at any time. So I think, Ryan, did you have anything to add to that? Or?
Yeah, and
Oh,
I mean, I could add a couple of examples. I'm a big rapier guy, so there's rapier manuals that will say, "Hey, here's about what your sword should be." Tibbo was one of the really pedantic guys that has you draw this whole diagram out of your length of your step and your foot and your size, and it tells you how long your blade should be and your quillions and all that sort of stuff. But in reality, I think what it comes down to, even if I'm teaching in a specific style that has recommendations in the source text, it should feel good, right? The best sword advice I ever heard, and I use all the time, is of which sword should I buy? You should buy the one that makes you excited to pick it up.
Yep.
And if I'm teaching a rapier class, then okay, find the rapier that does that for you. But if it's maybe you're buying a personal longsword, you want to walk around fair, do cutting tournaments, if you're excited to pick that sword up to go in your backyard and cut water bottles, maybe that is the right sword for you, because you'll get better with it just because you're using it all the time. So, yeah. But as far as my wife could hold the biggest longsword I have, that even I think maybe I don't like, but maybe she does, and she's 5'1" and I'm 5'11. Size doesn't. Maybe that's a different conversation. The size of the sword doesn't really matter, right? It's more of what makes you feel good and what you feel comfortable with, right?
Yeah. So actually, just remembered a good example of this. That was even all the way up at the higher levels of makers. So. It was a conversation between, I'm trying to remember, I don't know if it was Gus or if it was, tall, I'm blanking on his name right now. He does the Hanwei line, Tinker, there we go. I don't know, I could
Tinker, yeah.
I think it was Tinker. In fact, I'm quite certain now it was Tinker. So this was at one of the SHOT shows, and I was there as well. I was a young kid. I think I was probably 17, 18 years old at the time, maybe a little older.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah. But I don't know, Ryan, you might remember this as a rapier guy. So for a while, Kasanwei would put out all these beautiful rapiers, but all of them had like 30, 32 inch long blades.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like
super short.
Yeah. So they asked Tinker's opinion on the rapier blades, and his first thing was, why the heck are these so short? Like, and they said, here's some historical examples that we're going by, but here's our blade. He's like, these are way too short. And Paul Chen, poor guy, he's a tiny guy, right? But he's like, how can blade be so long? I can't pull it out of scabbard. So his thought was, and again, him not understanding how rapiers are held or used, he thought, obviously your blade can't be so long that you can't pull it out of the scabbard. But he thought the scabbard was held close to your hip like a katana. And it's like, no, it's not at all how it's held. It's slung way down on your thigh, so you have a lot more, length to pull that out. And Paul Chen just, at that time, just didn't know. He's like, oh, yeah. And when Tinker finally said it, I remember his eyes, like, it was the first time I actually saw his eyes. He went like, oh, that's really big. And then, sure enough, a year later, they started making more longer rapiers. So I think after that, they had like a 35, a 37, and like a 40 they had at one point.
Yeah.
At least for the button tip.
Hanwei eventually even made a 43.
Yeah.
Up to.
That's why. You can thank Tinker for that.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I didn't know that story.
Yeah, it was just really funny that I was like, how does he not know that? Like, but I mean, it makes sense. That's not his world. Right, and he wasn't at that time. They didn't do many historical Europe. They did some European blades, but nothing like historical. So that was the reason why their blades were so short for rapiers, and then two, why they got longer. So yeah, it's a pretty good story. I totally forgot about that till we just started talking about this. So yeah, and I mean Colton knows. So Colton made his wife a beautiful long sword, and that is one giant sword. So it's that one.
Oh, it's that one. Yeah.
38-inch blade, right? Or 37? What is it? It's long.
I don't remember. It's really big.
It looks small back there in the background, but it is.
It
big,
does. 56-inch overall or something like that.
Yeah, it's big.
Not a small sword.
Not a small sword. No.
Yeah. But perfect for who it was made for. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it for truth or myth. So again, if you're watching and you have a question like, well, somebody told me this, you're gonna go grab it. If you have a question like somebody told me this, always measure it. Yeah, I remember when
I like how he had that at his bedside. He just pulled out the tape measure.
Right, exactly. So odds are, I mean, it might be true for a specific class that you might be taking, but overall, it's a myth. So there isn't a certain size that's required for any certain person. What was it?
40-inch blade with
40-inch
54 overall.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a very respectable longsword.
Yeah. Yep. That's bordering on greatsword size, right?
I mean, that was a plan kind of for her,
Yeah.
like because she's 5'3", so 5'4", pushing 5'4". Yeah. So it was like that's a great sword for her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a great sword for most people, I think. But,
yeah, no, it's a big
the crazy thing is super light too. So
yeah.
That's a pretty blade.
And that's really when we talk about dimensions of swords, especially today with so much knowledge about distal taper and overall design, that we could have longer swords that aren't 6-7 pounds like we had, at least when I was growing up. If you wanted a long sword and you bought one off of the, I don't know, Museum Replicas catalog, it could be 6 pounds or more, right? Like you didn't know what you're going to get. But length isn't everything. That holistic balance of how it feels in your hand is so important. So there's really a lot to it.
Yeah. So, if like say you see a sword that you really like, but you think it's too long, pick it up and try. Don't just go off the side of it, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the benefit of coming to the shows, right? Like there's a lot of, especially now, more sword makers are showing up to, whether it's fairs or someplace like SoCal Sword Fight, where you could go and pick up. I mean, those are great places to pick up a couple of different swords and see which one speaks to you, if you have that opportunity.
Yeah. Actually, so funny enough, I'm just remembering things I wanted to talk about earlier. So for those coming to Lake Edge, we don't have too many vendors. It's really going to be us, Sterling Armory. We have Stephen Horta, who's donated. One of the prizes will be a custom scabbard from him for the sword of your choice, which is fantastic. Yeah. And we had one other sword vendor that reached out. That's new to HEMA World, but I saw his pieces. They were really cool. And he said he was coming, and he said he was going to register, but I haven't seen him yet. He had a really cool falchion that I was excited to see in person. And he had a longsword that it was a little on the fantasy side, so I said, hey, you couldn't use that in the competition, but it's still a pretty cool looking blade. So I hope he comes out, and I hope he vends. His blades are quite expensive, though. They were starting at like $3,000 to $4,000. And I mean, they were really nice pieces of art. So I hope you see them. If not, that sucks. But we also have a lot of other prizes. So we're gonna have a blade coming in from Valiant. I'm not gonna say specifics now. I'll wait for the tournament. Blade coming in from Valiant. We have a piece coming from Arms and Armor, which is super exciting. And we got a bunch of other smaller pieces coming as well. I'm still debating on one of them, but I have a couple pieces from a local maker who I absolutely love. And some of those might end up being prizes as well. We shall see. So yeah, exciting stuff there. And then in terms of getting to cut with other blades, this should have been back in the news section, by the way, because I forgot to talk about it. I have been working with, or not working with, I've been going out to local groups and all the local friends we have around the area. Caleb, who we were talking about earlier, who's been really good in cutting lately, is on a roll. He's been hosting some cutting events at his place, so I've gone over there and done some cutting there. We have another one coming up on January 3rd, somewhere in Orlando. That's being hosted by another person. And then Creek School in St. Pete, Florida. I will be teaching a cutting seminar there on the 10th. So if you're familiar with Creek School and want to come join that, I'm bringing the stands and all the targets, so all you have to do is show up. I'm also bringing swords. But at Caleb's event over on the East Coast, on the Space Coast, he lives right by Kennedy Space Center. We were doing, let's see if I can find it. I hope I didn't lose it. Oh, here we go. We were cutting with some pieces, and I brought out some of my cabinet pieces from this cabinet, because some of the pieces I've never cut with before. So I wanted to try it. So this is the one that Gus made for me. We got a bunch of videos, but I'll just play the one. This is the one that Gus made for me. So I made a piece for Gus, and then he made one for me, and this is the one he made me. I forgot what it was, though. It's I think a 16, but I could be wrong. It might be an 18. It does have a short fuller in it. Yeah, I don't even know what it is. But we were just having fun in his backyard, cutting all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, it was a fun piece to cut with. So, yeah, good times. So we were all cutting back there, having fun. See, we got tons of cutting footage. We were even cutting big pumpkins, which was fun. So yeah, forgot to talk about that. But cutting with the Albion Kingmaker, and then not the Regent, but the Earl, the Albion Earl. Those were surprisingly a lot of fun to cut with. I really like those blades. And I thought I had cut with my Kingmaker before, but if I did, I don't remember being as surprised as I was when I was out there, because that Kingmaker was singing through mats like nothing, and I hadn't sharpened it myself, so it's factory edge, and I was like, wow, like I don't remember this being so good. so I don't know if you've cut with those before, but you know, when you're at an event and you get to pick stuff up, you know, it gives you a lot more opportunity to just, you know, learn what you like, I guess is the way to say it. All right, I'll stop ranting there and talking on. Next thing I was speaking of. So upcoming events. So we have Lake Edge Open again. That's January 31st and February 1st. I didn't mention, but yeah, well, at least don't think I did. We'll have loaner blades for everybody. You don't need your own blade. Come on out if you can come out, even if you just want to spectate. I feel like I'm still forgetting things for that, but I'm sure it'll pop up. After Lake Edge Open, then I don't think there's anything until SoCal, right?
Yep.
SoCal is in March.
SoCal March. Yeah.
So you got about a month and a half-ish until SoCal. And then after SoCal, I believe it's Cactus Cup, right? At least right now.
That makes sense. I think there's some smaller events popping around, but as far as major, Cactus Cup is now, is that July? When is that one?
Yeah, so let's check. So where are we at? So Lake Edge, January. There are some smaller ones. But SoCal is the next big event that we'll be at in terms of vending. And then Cactus Cup. So there might be some ones that are added in between. So that's July 17th. So that's pretty much taking the place of Combat Con, I think. Yeah. At least time-wise.
Well, and that's where I know Brittany, who ran cutting at Valley of the Sun, right? They're kind of focusing on Cactus Cup cutting now. So
yeah, so that's why they're not doing Valley of the Sun. Right? So all the cutting that was at Valley of the Sun will now be kind of shifted to Cactus, although it's not the same tournament because it's not the same people running it. Phil would run Valley, and I don't remember who's running cutting. I wonder if it's Brittany herself. I don't remember. It's running cutting at Cactus. I'm not sure, but I haven't seen any feats. I haven't seen anything. It is closed off. I was too late to register. I don't know if did you get a chance to register? Are you going?
I'm trying to go. Yeah, okay. I'm negotiating my schedule for my HEMA tournaments of the year with my wife. We haven't finished yet.
Same.
But you know, with kids and stuff, feel like and if I'm traveling, I got to schedule that stuff out. But I think some of the fighting is still open, so if I can get there, I'll do that. And if not, then I'm sure they'll let me vend. So maybe we grab.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So one kind of surprise that came up for us. So Josh and I were talking about Cactus Cup, and then he realized, he's actually not going to be in Phoenix during Gax's Cup.
Oh,
yeah. So he's gonna unless it changes. I don't think it would change unless there was a big issue. But he is attending a wedding that is out of state at that time. So in fact, I think it's out of the country. I think he's.
Oh wow.
Yeah. He'll have to inform us on that. So because this is kind of taking the place of Combat Con, I'm kind of thinking this might be one of our biggest events for the year. Maybe. So I'm probably going to get a hotel room there. Usually I'd stay with Josh at his place, right? But I want to be at the hotel because the pools are really nice and everything looks really cool. And I don't want to have to worry about driving around.
Yeah.
So Colton, I don't know if you plan on coming down, but
we haven't even talked about it. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it is a ways out. We haven't talked about it yet. But if not, so I'm trying to get Shelby. Shelby and I bought tickets for the ball. That's that. They're doing like a really fancy, like black tie or suit and tie, or not suit and tie, like tuxedo type.
Yeah, black tie.
Yeah, black tie.
Black tie.
I don't know fancy words. So yeah, black tie event. But it's like, is it themed or is it just black tie? Because I think some people will be wearing a store.
I just remember it being black tie. I don't remember a theme. They might release one, but I haven't seen anything.
That should be fun. It's like like almost like, what are they calling it? Sword prom? I think they're calling it
sword prom.
So I got 2 tickets for Shelby and I. I did register, so I'm in the waiting list for cutting. So I hope it opens up, but I'm not holding my breath if it doesn't open up. I'm just gonna go to Vend and have fun. So yeah. In fact, if I'm not cutting, that means I can dedicate time to filming cutting.
That would be great too.
Yeah.
So Colton, hopefully you can join us there. Because I don't think there isn't any Salt Lake events next year, is there?
I don't think so.
Oh, Blade Show West, I guess.
Sure, but I won't be vending there. If anything, I just walk through on a day and.
Yeah. Well, now that since we won't have so much activity going on at the same time, maybe Josh and I can join you up there again.
Yeah.
So that's upcoming events. Let's finish these last few out real quick. So in the works, in the works. So I did have, actually, who wants to start? I've been starting all these. Ryan, you want to start?
Sure, yeah.
Let me.
So I have a buddy of mine that working on a trade for, and he's a leather worker amongst other things, and he found a historical leather working tool. It's a knife and an awl put into one at a museum, and he goes, "Hey Ryan, can you make me one of these?" And I said, "Hey, I just got a forge. I bet I could." Anyway, so it's not completely done yet. I just mounted the handle. He hasn't even seen this yet. But
what's happening?
That's you.
Hold on. There we go.
There we go.
Hands. There we go. Yeah. So you can see, obviously I haven't put the edge on yet, but it's got a bit of a round knife to it. There's an awl piece over here. Still need to do some final shaping on it, but yeah. And I got to figure out how to make like a little scabbard for it. Just to kind of protect the blade as I ship this thing.
Oh yeah,
ship this thing all over. But yeah, so there's a couple of museum pieces. There's a whole bunch of illustrations of these, and so it was a nice, fun project that I forged out and quenched and tempered and all that good stuff. It's out of 1090 steel.
1090. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me show. Let's see if I can show the images while you're here.
According to my hardness files, I'm about right under 59, somewhere under 59 Rockwell.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Awesome.
It's a little small on that one.
Yeah.
You can see the guy using one there, and it's do you know what time period that is from?
I want to say, well, I thought it's somewhere around 1500s is where I was placing it, but there's a really wide span where we have illustrations, and here's a museum piece. There's 2 of them, arguably. That the one on the left might be, could be something else because the blade shape's a little bit different as well.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, that handle's not original. But that's kind of where I was going for with the strength, kind of a plain wooden handle. on this
And
one,
there's-
and there's another one in the back. And the proportions in a lot of these older illustrations, right, could be all over the place.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing, half the illustrations I found, they're cobblers. Not all of
Doesn't
them.
say he's
Some
a
of them
cobbler.
are strap makers and stuff like that. But this guy's a cobbler, right? He's making shoes.
Yeah.
And when they're on the workbench, they're always just jammed into the workbench, not like laid out nice. So
It's gonna have a pretty robust spike there, huh?
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. So when I saw that, it reminded me of the modern kind of leather cutting tool that you can get at some of the leather stores.
Yeah. Just
spike.
this, right? If we take that part, it's like a round knife. Usually, it's got a handle straight up instead of off to the side because you're using it. You're on top of it.
Do you remember the off the side one? They used to have Tandy used to have it a long time ago.
One like this, yeah.
My first one was like that, but I think people thought it was like a miniature axe.
No, they're delicate, right? Because they're meant to be like crazy razor sharp because you want to be able to do fine carving or like scarf joints sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's why they changed the handle though.
Yeah,
people
so people don't keep chopping with it.
Yeah. Colton, you want to go next?
Sure.
To share.
Kind of a couple different things going on here. I did some actual just kind of more modern style knives. A couple local friends have been asking me for a long time, so I finally just go, I'm just doing it. This will be awesome. I had a lot of fun doing them actually. It wasn't
that photo was nice. That real flat section you got there at the start. That's really hard to do. Good.
Yeah, that one's as you can tell, that's a pretty large piece there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a knife.
No, that's a knife. Yeah. So just fun stuff. Kind of branching out, I guess, just with some side projects. Have been like my last month. Then more modern bushcraft. Also, just local guy just wanted one of those for a Christmas present, and then he got this next one from me as well. I think. So he wanted that one. Just classic hunting knife. I think that one's about a 7-inch blade, so still fairly large piece. But so these have been really fun. But yeah, kind of pulled me away from my normal what I've been doing, and probably learned some new skills from it too. So
I bet, those plunge grinds are very different, right?
Yeah, a lot of fun.
I don't think you want to do a plunge grind on a big sword though.
Nope, certainly don't.
And then finish this one off.
So this one was a commission, which we really don't do a lot of anymore. But it was an interesting piece. So we kind of been working through this one for a few months, and sadly, just the dimensions on the grip are just not really working for the guy who purchased it.
So it's up on.
Yeah, it's actually up for sale, and he absolutely loves it. He's like, it cuts fantastically. It fits like exactly what we the parameters that we set. It's just not quite working for me, which again, as we were just talking about, like picking your sword, like it is all about the feel when you pick it up. If it's not exactly what you need, which is kind of one of the I guess, questions, or I don't know, one of the, I can't think of the word here. Just when you're going to buy a new sword and you place a commission, you've got like specific parameters in mind, and then it shows up and it's like, oh, that's actually not exactly what I thought it was going to be, which is a weird problem to have. And you don't know what to do with it. It is a common problem, but it's just, what do you do about it?
It's especially common on newer folks who are newer into the sword world. If you have a lot of experience with a lot of different blades, then you usually know what you're looking for. However, if you haven't held as many, but you think you know what you want, right, then that's where it might become an issue. It's still a beautiful piece though. I mean, as all of yours are. So if you guys want a piece of Colton, so it is available.
It is available.
One of us is picking up first, that's for sure.
Yeah. So this is current. So as of recording, this is the 27th. It's still available, correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, I just saw you drop the price, so maybe maybe we argue it for who's going to get it after the show.
Yeah, one of us might pick it up. So maybe it won't be available by the time this comes out. But check Sword Buyer's Guide. I believe it's only listed there. Is that correct? I don't think it's listed anywhere else.
It's the only place I've seen it.
Yeah. So then, let me switch here. So then, we're to me now. Let's see if I can find my. Okay. So I had some fun doing somewhat similar to what Colton was doing. So there was a little rondelle I got a chance to work.
That's
super
so
fun.
Yeah.
So I'd done one prior, but I didn't have the wire in that grip. And man, that wire in that grip just made such a big difference. So it turned out quite well. I got a chance to play with some new things, including, so all that walnut actually was taken out of a giant chunk of walnut. I had to slowly whittle it down without cracking it because it was a really old piece of walnut. And the rondelles are stainless with bronze rivets attaching everything together. And then the grip actually goes all the way down almost to that peen, so that pommel is almost fully hollow. Just because you didn't want it to be super heavy, right? You still want a forward balance in a rondelle. But yeah, it was a fun little piece. It is a blunt though. This actually is for a stage show. So excited to see it in use for the show. I was actually worried that I was like, it looks a little too pointy still. So let me know if you need to round that off a little more. But I actually have a sharp version as well. So I might have some of these might be prizes at Lake Edge. I'm actually making a couple of these right now, and they're all different. So some of them have different woods instead of walnut. Some of them have 2 rondelles instead of just the one. Some of them are just medieval daggers. So they might be some of the prizes, maybe. I'm not sure yet. But either way, they're a lot of fun to make. So I had this one. I have 2 other so this one is a 10-inch. Is it 10? No, I'm sorry, 8-inch. And then I have 2 other daggers that I'm doing that are 14-inch. And then I've already started on blades for Lake Edge Open, so we have a lot of blades in the works for Lake Edge. So yeah, lots of stuff in the works. And how do I remove? There we go. So, lots of stuff in the works. Oh, Ryan, did you talk about your other sword?
I do have another one. I forgot about it. Yeah, so this is a blunt piece that I made. I made kind of making this in conjunction with another one that sold at the Sarasota Fair. Yeah, so kind of a lot of the same basic designs. So I just made the furniture at the same time. Octagonal bronze. There we go. Try to make that in focus.
Yeah, you're
guard. Yeah, there we go. It's a little aggressive.
Yeah.
This one is using a Hanwei Tinker blunt. So on the HEMA side, this would be like a technique kind of sword, or if you spar in the SCA or something like that, something like this would be good. The standard kind of nice wheel pommel.
Did you hear that Dragon King is taking over those designs, by the way?
Yes, I did just hear that recently. I'm pretty excited. These are, and I really like the, in particular, the longsword blades. They're good kind of starter pieces. The sharps are pretty good, but these blunts, especially if you're doing lighter contact, whether it's stage combat or SCA sort of cut and thrust type stuff, I really like how these perform. Like they tend to just hold up pretty well. They can't hold up to HEMA level intensity, but anything less than that.
Yeah, they're great for doing class work and anything like that. I'm curious if Dragon King will change the tang geometry at all, because they're pretty known for making Hanweis more robust in general. So.
Well, I hope they don't change the profile in front of the shoulders. I wouldn't mind a little extra, and honestly, it's right in the interface between the thread, because these are threaded, and they have a kind of like a hex nut, internal hex nut sort of construction that I use on this one. But where the threads and the tang meet, there's some sharper shoulders, and if they break, that's where they break. It's an easy fix, but that's traditionally been, if there's a lot of stress, that's kind of where it goes. So some of their, so they took over the
practical series of Hanwei blades already, and they're already out. You can actually get them.
Yeah.
So I'm debating on getting. So when I was training in the Japanese sword arts, I would use the Practical XL Lite as my Iaito, so I'd dull it out, right? Because they required us to have a dull Iaito. And it's a beautiful sounding blade. It's really loud. But the Dragon King one apparently is a bit more robust. So, but mostly in the hilt, because some of the Hanwei ones were a little thin in the tang. So I'm kind of curious whether they're going to do the same for the Hanwei blades. I'll be curious to see. As soon as they drop, I'm probably going to get one pretty quick just to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting news. I really hope they keep this one. This is the one I hope they keep, because they kept iterating this one, and it doesn't match the original at all. Nobody knows where the original is. This pommel is way too large, but it's hollow, so it's super hollow. So, but this I think is their best longsword blade, in my opinion. I know everyone has different opinions, but I love this longsword blade of theirs. The handle is terrible, the grip is terrible, but everything else about the blade is great. So I hope they take that over and recreate that one. And it'd be great if they thin that pommel out, but I don't think they will.
Do you know if they're getting the? Well, I don't know. Is that pommel cast, or is it? How did they make that? Yeah,
it was cast. It was slush cast too. That's why it's hollow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea if they're getting the molds or what's. I assume they are, because for all the practical series katanas, all the subas and all those parts are all cast. So I assume that they're getting all those molds. But I don't know. Also, the Tinker Guards pommels are cast.
Are they? Okay, I know they're like. I thought they were like chromed or plated.
Yeah,
or something
they're cast
like
steel, like cast. They're not tool steel. They're like a cast mild steel, I guess. I don't remember exactly what steel they're casting, but they cast them and then plate them. I don't know why they plate them. I wish they wouldn't. So, I don't think that was Tinker's call either. That was, I think, one of the contentions between them. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Could be. And they're bright. They look like almost a stainless, or it's not quite as bright as chrome, but it's a very bright, very shiny polish they put on them, and it's almost jarring how polished it is, because it doesn't look
That's why,
medieval in any way. And I thought
I don't think you can see it. That guy right there.
Oh yeah.
So that's this one right here is the chrome is the new one. And that is from one I bought off somebody else. But you can tell the first thing people do is matte that finish down, right? They're going to scrub it or do something to pull that finish down, because it's just too. It looks like it's chrome plated. Right? So.
And there was a company that used to do, I think it was sintered stainless steel guards and pommels that would put on them. 3D printed Armory, something like that.
Yep. So Jesse Belsky owns that now.
Who bought them out? Yeah, exactly. And they had a lot of really cool different designs. Some of them were on the little fantasy side, but some of them were pretty well based, and those were a lot of fun. They're still stainless, but you could do a lot of cool work with them. They
did the Rhythm ones, and that's a really hard piece to make. So to print that, it's like that's the way to go.
But last I heard, Jesse said he's not getting more of those. I don't know if it was a supply issue or if that was temporary. Could have been because of tariffs, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think.
I don't know how up to date that information is, but I was a little bummed to hear that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
The other thing is, before they were, even though they were printed, they were still hand finished, which to me, I have no idea how that guy made like even broke even with his time in grinding and cutting those. But the more recent ones I got have a pebble finish, and so if you want them smoothed out, not cast looking, you do have to sand them down a little bit.
They're probably tumbling them, whoever the casting foundry is or the printing foundry.
Yeah, they're not. It looks like they had all the burrs knocked off by like some sort of tumbling.
Yeah.
Or
I guess
sandblasting or something.
It's if he had a one of those giant 3-horse grinders that had all the different Scotch Brite wheels from the really rough red all the way to. He probably just threw that on there and polished them up pretty quick. I guess.
I don't know who the original guy was. It kind of maybe that was a good way to do it for him, but
I don't know. That's my
it's
guess.
more work than I was willing to put in.
Yeah, you gotta have the right equipment, right? Or else it's just so difficult.
I mean, even with my big grinder, my belt grinder, I was looking at and I had the latest ones I got from Jesse were the key pommels. There's a lot of kind of intricate pieces, so I would have had a hand file and then sand them down. It was more work than I wanted to do. But that key pommel shape is beautiful. It's my favorite. So
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we're almost at we're at an hour and 40. This might be one of our longest sword talks. So it's been a while. So we won't finish itching to talk. So let's real quick do our outros. And if you guys have been hanging on with us the whole time, thanks for hanging on and hope you've enjoyed it. Again, my name is Chris. Find us Sterling Armory on all the different socials. So that's me. Colton, want to do yours?
Yep, I'm Colton. I kind of run the Copperthorn line, I guess we'll call it. You can also find me at Sterling Armory.
Yep. Ryan Shapiro, Fox and Forge on Facebook. Not on anything else, just Facebook, or you can find me at the Sterling Armory booth, wherever we're at.
Yeah, which hopefully will,
SoCal Sword Fight's the next one.
Yeah, SoCal will be the next one that we're there. All of us, yeah.
Yep.
Actually, Colton, can you make SoCal? I forgot to ask you that.
Oh, I was planning on that one.
Okay, awesome. Hope so.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be the next time you see all 4 of us. Josh should be there in one place. So
cool.
If you're at Lake Edge, you'll see Josh and I. We'll both be there. Josh will be running around as a Viking probably, and so should be a good time.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again for hanging on this long, and we'll hopefully get back to a more regularly scheduled sword talks. So also,
cool.
If you have any any topics you want us to cover, please let us know. I should have said that way earlier on. So if you're still with us, have any topics, let us know. And we'll catch you guys next time. You ready?
Awesome.
Right, hang on, guys.
Yeah.
I'll this down.
Oh.
All right.